Hey everybody, it's Jimmy and Bill. So today's subject is, we did a video, I think maybe a week ago, on 10 regrets sellers have, and I'll post it below, when they sell their house. They sell their house and they regret it, and because they're like, oh, what did I do? Why did I list my house? You know? So now what we decided to do is 10 regrets of people that actually bought the house.
Yeah.
So basically, let's go over some regrets, you know, and it's true for a lot of people. They did a survey, and a lot of people do regret buying their house. I didn't realize it was so high.
Yeah, it's huge.
You know, so let's go down the list of them. In the meantime, if you guys like this kind of content, do me a favor, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. So let's get started on the first one. Bill, you give me the first one. All right, putting you on the spot.
Just I wasn't ready. I was reading.
All right, go ahead.
I was trying to sneak in looking at my phone.
Give me one.
Overextending your finances.
That's a good one.
You know, and I don't necessarily mean by the monthly payment, but sometimes I mean because when we're talking about people who have purchased over the last, 3-ish years, you put a little more, you feel like you put a little bit more down than you had to. You came out of pocket to pay off, because of the bidding wars and things like that, to win because you needed a house. And that's my point. You needed a house. So, but people still regret because they feel like they overpaid.
That's true. So, financing. So basically, they just feel like they paid more and just the financial burden of the house.
Yeah, exactly. Simple as that.
Okay, let me think of one. All right, I got one.
I gotta walk around these gnarly weeds over here.
All right.
What road did you take me down today?
The second one is basically, a lot of people feel like they rushed the decision. It kind of goes off what you're saying.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, it's not the perfect house. It's a little smaller than we wanted. It's not the best location, but listen, there's a bidding war, and people don't like losing on bids.
Right.
So they get into a bidding war, and they win, and they're happy, and then they move into the house, and then they're like, what did we do?
Yeah, it's true. It happens because, there was so much pressure on the market, and, some people where they maybe would have walked away from a deal, maybe just pushed a little bit too far on that deal to get the house. But again, it kind of all circles back to the same thing. It's up to you on what you want to do, and at the end of the day, if you needed a house to live in, you needed a house to live in.
Yeah.
If you need a house, you need a house.
All right, so number 2 is rushing the decision.
Rushing the decision.
All right, let's go to number 3. Bill, you have a 3?
Yep. So ignoring inspection results.
That's true. A lot of people ignore what I tell them.
Yeah, and that's not specific to the last 3 years, but
no. They're just like, listen, if you buy this house, and that's even if I did the inspection, because a lot of people waive them, right?
Yeah. So that was kind of where I was heading. Okay. Is people were waiving inspections, and I do not, even during COVID, I did not recommend that at all. It's we were doing 1-day inspections if we were lucky. People were waiving them left and right. There's just, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but there's some, I would imagine if you're it's your right to have the home inspected or not. But waiving it can just open up a can of worms, and you move into the house and then you know what's going on in the property, and that could cost you a lot of money just by not getting the house, inspected.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a quick backstory. Okay, I did an inspection during the peak, when everybody's doing bidding, but they got an inspection, all cool and everything, and there was big oak trees in the front of the house. I told them to get a sewer scope, and they needed more time to get somebody out there, so they need to extend their inspection period. Right. The people refused to extend it, because there was only a day left, and they couldn't get somebody out there for 3 days. So they're like, okay, we'll skip it. We won't do the sewer scope. And I told them verbally, told them in a report, kept telling them, because there was big oak trees, and that means I'm worried about a root blocking the sewer lines. Right. They ignored it. They moved in. Not even 45 days later did they have a blockage, because the big oak tree that was in line with the sewer lines was breaking in, and now, you know, I believe I said this on another video too, they had more people move in than used to live there. It
Right.
blocked up. So it ended up costing them 45 grand, 50 grand.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, it could have been prevented with a $100 sewer scope.
Right.
And then they could have made the right decision. So it's a regret.
Or negotiated to get it fixed, which again, you know, we're talking a different time. So, but nowadays we could. work things out.
But it is
Yeah.
one of the big regrets about
Yeah.
people buying a house.
Yeah, absolutely. Super huge.
All right, so let's go on to number 4.
Okay.
All right, Bill, give me number 4.
Choosing the wrong location. And, you know, some of it was just not by choice, but it was because it was the time we were in, you know. Everybody would start with their ideal spot. And then they would just kind of work their way out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would keep looking at houses. We'd find something that they were interested in, and then we'd put an offer in on it, and it would get, you know, it would get denied or overbid. And it just, so you kept kind of going a little bit further and making the next concession, the next concession, and the next concession, till you move to a spot that maybe wasn't it wasn't the top of your choice because of commute, you know, how far it's going to be to go to schools, whatever the case is. It just wasn't your ideal location. So that's
a big regret. They move in,
Yeah.
the jobs could be farther and everything.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's a good one. All right, so now we're up to what, 5?
5.
All right, here's a number 5. Not considering your future needs. What do I mean by that? The house is too small.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the backyard is too small. You're buying a pickup truck. We actually were talking about this. You know, somebody bought a big pickup truck, and they were in HOA, and they couldn't keep it there because it overlapped onto the sidewalk.
Right.
So, you know, if you knew you were going to buy a pickup truck and you couldn't be on the sidewalk overlapping, but that's what I mean by consider future needs.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. You know, since future needs is you're going to have an expanding family, whether in-laws are moving in, a friend is going to move in, however, whatever your case is, you know, people have to take that into consideration when you're picking a house. And then during that time, you didn't have a lot of that choice at that moment in time.
All right, so that was number 5. So we'll go on to number 6.
Yep. And that would be negotiations.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, you're the realtor. Go ahead.
So, you know, there really wasn't much room for negotiating back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was so heavily seller driven, and there were so many buyers. It's like, the seller, why would I even choose? Like, I don't care. Like, it better be perfect and top of the dollar. And then people would pit each other against each other to drive the price up, you know, and that's what happened. So there was there was nothing to do. You couldn't do anything about it. If you want to win the house, this is what you had to do. It was just throw as much money as you could at it, and best terms. That was the unfortunate part.
All right, that was a good one. That's a good one. So now let's go on to the next one. All right, number 7. Underestimating resale value. Now, all right, I'm not a realtor, but if you're planning to buy the house, and Bill, you have to jump in on this one, and you pay $300,000 for the house, but you're only planning to be in the house for 6 months, and then you're like, well, I'll throw some paint on it, I'll clean up the backyard, and I'll sell it for $400,000. That's a big regret, because people are regretting and saying, oh, not only can I get $300,000, but I'm going to be losing money.
Right. So, you know, in that situation, you're looking at investments, and, you know, investing in properties, you know, and flipping homes is kind of a risky business if you do not know what you're doing. You don't need it. I'm not saying being a realtor is what fixes it, because I hear that a lot too, and that's not the case. You know, you need to understand construction costs, labor, overhead, holding fees, things like that, and being able to get that property turned over, because every month is more holding costs. And you know, there was a little bit of a time where people could kind of come in and polish, but as the market started to soften a little bit from that bidding war process, that's when people really started to get hit with these issues.
So that's another regret that people have from buying.
Yep, and they got stuck with their property. So something else that you know, people over or underestimated, you know, which would be our number 8, is maintenance costs. They underestimated maintenance costs and how much it was going to be to maintain the property. You know, big ticket items, small items, things like that, they all add up.
Yeah.
You know, pressure washing, painting, you know, carpets, you know, replacing a pipe or two here and there, you know, just like the standard faucet stuff. So little things like that.
Yeah, they don't realize with inflation how much things cost and everything.
You know what, like I just went and did some hoses at my house, and it went from, you know, I'm used to buying the pipes that I usually get, the little flex pipe things, for like $5-6. Now they're $9, you know, so it's like, and it's only been a couple years. So just underestimating the cost of things can be detrimental. Yeah.
That's a big regret. All right, so now we're up to, what do we have?
10, or whatever the last one.
All right, let me think. All right, here's another big regret that people have when they buy a house. Not thoroughly understanding what their taxes are going to be. Because they base their taxes on what the people were paying for when they owned it, especially here in Florida, because we have a homestead thing. I'll let Bill elaborate on that. But also not getting realistic estimates on what homeowners insurance is going to be. And people have big regrets with that, saying, oh my God, I thought when I got this and I got the pre-approval and everything, we put in there that, you know, my insurance was going to be $3,000 a year. I just got a bill for $7,000 a year. Bill, could you add anything to that?
Yeah, so when you're talking about your taxes, so, you know, you get your taxes, they give you your, you know, during your HUD statement, they'll give you your estimated taxes, etc. But what's going to happen is we pay taxes in the rears here in Florida.
In Florida. So
what means is now I'm paying, today it's 2023, so I'm paying 2022 taxes. So when the transaction takes place, you as the new homeowner, you're not going to realize the new tax until the following year.
Yeah.
So, and it can go up significantly. So an example, if you paid, let's say you bought a house that the same owner had for 30 years. They paid $150,000 for that house. You paid $500,000 for that house because of, like you mentioned, even Save Our Homes, which stops the cap. So you can't get charged over 3% annually increases in your your taxes. Well, they only went up a little bit. Now, you know, so their tax base is super low. And then now you buy the house at 500. That's what your property is pretty much based off of, you know, minus homestead and a few other things. Right.
It's definitely a big deal. So that's it, you know, just not really understanding your true costs for insurance and taxes and HOA fees if they're doing a special assessment, all that stuff. Not doing enough research into all that.
Yeah.
All right, bring us home. All right, Bill, can you think of another one?
Yeah, I mean, last but not least, you know, people, because of maybe concessions that they had to, etc., move to a different location, you know, they weren't as close to family, friends, and, you know, where they wanted to be. You know what I mean? And that's a regret. And now they've purchased, you know, they were like, well, you know, we can just drive a little bit. You know, it's not that big of a deal, you know? And now they're like, well, we miss kids, whatever. Yeah.
We miss our family, our friends, whatever.
And they have to, you know, they're pretty much stuck. You can't just sell the house now. So
yeah, that's a big regret. Yep. Yeah. Anyways, that's today's video. Like always, please consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. There's gonna be a lot more videos being uploaded every week. Thank you, and I greatly appreciate it. I'll talk to you in the next one.
See you soon. Thank you.